Hello there. Now, in case you guys don't know, I love Star Wars. It's one of my favourite franchises of all time, and Episode 4 New Hope is my favourite movie of all time, and Empire Strikes Back is my favourite movie sequel of all time. This franchise is the reason why I've decided to take a career in filmmaking and storytelling, because the amount of potential there is. And one of the biggest reasons why Star Wars is as influential as it is because of its groundbreaking special effects back in 1977, 1980, and 1983. The type of effects that the world hadn't seen at that point, but cinema was never the same. Then you get to 1997, where George Lucas re-released the original Star Wars Trilogy in the big screen in preparation for the prequels with the special editions. Basically, the special editions contained many added scenes, altered effects, and sound effects, and added CGI as well. Basically, fan reception was mixed, to say the least. Some actually admired the new additions to the special editions, while others thought they were a big detractor from the original version of the film back in the 70s and 80s. Like such changes being Greedo shooting first, the added CGI in Mos Eisley, and Jedi rocks. And George Lucas didn't stop there with his changes to the original Star Wars trilogy. In 2004, when the trilogy came to DVD, George Lucas added in even more additions to the trilogy, like Obi-Wan's crate dragon called to scare off the Tusken Raiders has been altered. The hologram used for Palpatine was changed to Ian McDiarmid, and Hayden Christensen was added in the ending to Return of the Jedi. But he didn't stop there either. For the trilogy's Blu-ray release, even more additions was added, like a rock added in front of R2-D2 when hiding from the Tusken Raiders, the Ewoks blinking, and Darth Vader shouting, "No!" But wait, it still doesn't stop there. In 2019, when Disney Plus launched, and also for the film's 4K release in 2020, George Lucas actually had been working on another master of the films for their 3D releases, which had been shelved after Disney's buyout. That came with even more change, an added cutaway to Greedo saying "McClokey" before he shoots a hand and misses. So, yeah, you'd think, well, that's kind of annoying, I guess, but hey, at the very least I can watch the original theatrical version, right? Sadly, no, because ever since 1997, George Lucas didn't release the unaltered versions of the original Star Wars trilogy. The only time that the original trilogy's unaltered versions were re-released officially was part of a bonus disc for the DVDs when they were out for a limited time in 2006. And you think all the problems would be solved, right? No. In fact, the masters used for the unaltered versions was absolutely dreadful, as they suffered greatly from images just jittering, and the quality was dreadful, the sound quality was poor, and it was presented in 4:3 rather than 16:9, so it was such a lazy transfer. In fact, it was actually a transfer of a Laserdisc from the early 90s, and that's not good. Since then, the only way we could watch the original unaltered version of the original trilogy is through fan preservations and remasters, such as Harmy's Despecialized Edition and Team Negative One's 4K77, 4K80, and 4K83. And George Lucas's reasoning for not releasing the unaltered versions of the original Star Wars trilogy was because they weren't his original vision. The special editions were the versions he wanted, the versions he envisioned. And look, George Lucas is within his reasoning to say that these are the ways I intended them to be, and I accept that. But that does not mean you forbid anyone else from watching the original theatrical versions of the original trilogy. I mean, that's the whole point of a director's cut. Basically, if a director has a version that they prefer of a film, like Ridley Scott with Alien, he releases that version of the film alongside the original theatrical version. As I referenced previously, Ridley Scott did that with Alien. When the film re-released in, I think it was 2003, he released a director's cut that had some altered sound effects, and some of the scenes were a bit shorter, and a few added scenes, but Ridley Scott had the theatrical version released alongside his director's cut, so it could be a have your cake and eat it too occasion. And, you know, Disney Plus Day and D1023 came and went, and even though we got some Star Wars announcements, none of them were for the original trilogy, Unaltered, the one without Greedo firing, the one without Jabba the Hutt, and the one without Ian McDiarmid in Empire Strikes Back, and the one without Darth Vader shrieking no. So, many fans decided to just give up hope. Until recently, I was watching a documentary series on Disney Plus called Light and Magic. It was basically about the origins of the special effects company, Industrial Light and Magic. The special effects company who helped out with Star Wars and many, many, many other films. In fact, any footage relating to the original Star Wars trilogy in Light and Magic was for the original theatrical versions of the original trilogy, meaning the original Battle of Yavin shots were shown, the original explosion for the Death Star and Alderaan were shown also. So even though the quality for picture and sound wasn't great, it really did make me happy that Lucasfilm was acknowledging the original theatrical versions of the original trilogy. And I think if there's any time that Lucasfilm should re-release the theatrical cuts, now should be the time, because this is something that fans have been wanting for over 25 years now. I say, just make it happen, Lucasfilm. I mean, you've got the Star Wars Vintage lineup on Disney Plus, which has some cartoons from the 80s and the 2D Clone Wars from 2003. Why not release the unaltered versions through that lineup? Or re-release the Skywalker Saga films on 4K Ultra HD and allow us to switch between the theatrical and edited versions on the fly, like either it's through the menu or through an icon while the movie's playing, just like how the Blu-ray set for the original series of Star Trek from the 1960s did. Like with Star Wars, when the original Star Trek series was re-released for DVD back in the early 2000s, it came with new CGI shots of the Enterprise in space and new establishing shots for certain locations on the planets. However, Paramount made the right call in making them optional. Like, fans could choose to switch between the original effect shots or the CGI shots, and I just watched the whole series with the original shots and it felt great. So this is unscripted. This whole video is just unscripted. It's just made as a plea for Lucasfilm or Disney. Just please give us the theatrical cuts. In fact, if there's something else that does give me hope for the theatrical cuts getting an official re-release is in 2019 when George Lucas allowed the Academy Awards a 70mm print of the pre-special edition film reel of A New Hope. I'm like, please, Lucasfilm. I mean, you've had, in fact, the 4K box set and Disney Plus was a ginormous missed opportunity right there. And Disney Plus was also a big missed opportunity there also. So all I've got to ask Lucasfilm is, please release the theatrical cuts, because there are plenty of edits of the special editions that I really do not like. For example, the added CGI in Mos Eisley, the Jabba the Hutt scene, Greedo firing, Jedi rocks, and Darth Vader shouting no. So you've got to preserve history, Lucasfilm. It's right here. Anywho, that was just a wee quick video I just put together. Just please, Lucasfilm, please, if there's any time the theatrical cut should be officially released, it's now. Especially since this is the 45th anniversary of Star Wars. So please, please, Lucasfilm, please.